Greetings again from the Woodland Hotel in Ellesmere Port. Already today we've seen Noel Burrows through to round 2 of this year's Bassmasters. The lower half of the draw dominated by former champions of this event. Now one of them, John Bancroft, was in action a little earlier when you went away and looking in very good nick too against David Richardson of Wigan. Bancroft leading 15-6, Richardson totally out of sorts. The commentators are Roy Armson and Hugh Johns.
That line is better. Needed more length. Tightened the line of that delivery, but no, weight-wise, not too clever. Mary Ashcroft is invited to consider the situation.
Not much in these, John.
Well, they're all such a long way, it's difficult to tell. John might change the whole thing now with this final delivery. Squeeze past and it'll count. Yes. Well, that's definite.
Bancroft, 1.
16-6 then with that single. John Bancroft in front. And I think many of the other bowlers around the green will be viewing John Bancroft's game with some apprehension, Roy.
Certainly will, yes. As I say, John's played a totally different game today than those that he's played on this green before, proving that he's just as good in the corners as he is playing around the centre of the green. And he's coming about 52 yards here, quite a long way, finger peg right over the crown, into the downhill part of the green. Looks as though he's played a good one to me.
Yes, that's possibly a yard short, but could very well have the winning of this. Now David's beaten it.
Both these lads are actually playing with identical bowls. They're both composition bowls players, both playing £2 12-ounce weight.
Squeeze past. Woo, woo. David wants some information from Mary, and his first bowl is still counting.
Once again, Mary Ashcroft very positive there, Hugh. No hesitation. You're in, she says. She's doing a first-class job down here today.
They're up for 2.
Okay, John. Yeah, it's only 1.
Oh, it is only 1.
Richardson, 1.
Now the bowl behind the jack was closer than I thought, so a single to David Richardson. He's 9 adrift. 7-16. David scratching to find some portion of the green that Banjo can't play. It's a poor lead. He'll be very unhappy about that.
This is actually one of the one of the trapping marks on this green that I'm sure John Bancroft will be aware of. It's all uphill to this position, and most people play short even when they've led.
Well, he's got a very easy bowl to beat. And beat it comfortably. There's a lack of confidence totally about David Richardson. He is a much better player than he's showing us, right?
Yes, he's tried one or two things. He's tried the corners, he's tried round peg, and he's tried straight peg up the side, and he's almost in that position where he doesn't know what to do, and he's nearly at the stage where he's wishing a large hole would appear on the green and he could drop down into it, because this is not the David Richardson that we know.
Yes, he needs to get the adrenaline pumping out there. Could have one here.
Just won that.
No, John. Looks like a double.
Richardson, 2.
(9-17), David Richardson. So David again trying another portion of the green. I think the apprehension showing perhaps Roy, in as much as he's making sure that he's setting the block in such a place that if he does lose it, he doesn't get taken back into the corners again.
That's right, yes. Playing finger peg just under the crown here, and they have to be just inside the jack here, just inside as it goes under that second crown, it breaks away and then comes up to the jack with the bias just at the finish.
Just stopped short. Yes, a couple of good bowls there from David. That should make him feel a little bit better.
I think John Bancroft would dearly like to have a strike at these.
Bend. No.
Richardson, 2.
So 2 for Mary Ashcroft to signal. She's a very smart lady on the green and a very knowledgeable and well-accepted referee, Roy.
Yes, more and more that we see Mary, the players are talking about her and saying how good she is, and I'm sure that many of them feel that she's the equal, if not better, than some of the fellas we've got here. I've certainly watched her with interest, and I love the way she's so positive, and her judging is very good. You know, that's something that some of the modern referees have not got, but she seems to be quite au fait with it and not afraid to give a decision. Really first class.
Yes, I think we first saw her in the Crown Challenge, and she captured a lot of hearts with her skillful handling of situations there. I think that's won it.
1. Bancroft, 1.
Yes, it has. 18-11, John Bancroft. So a good chance for David Richardson has disappeared. He scored 2 doubles, gave a hint that he might be getting right back into this game. John using up an awful lot of energy in this game, Roy. He's chasing practically every ball.
Yes, he loves to do that, doesn't he, John? He loves to get really involved, and he psychs himself up by doing that. Ah, David's played a good one. Well bowled.
So John decides to have a bang. Missed it.
That was a luxury that he felt he could afford, Hugh, because normally he wouldn't have done that because his own ball is not so near, but he feels with the score he can afford it.
And David could afford to go in there with a little bit of weight, knowing that whatever happened, as long as he made the contact, he was going to get the 2, and he's got 2. 13-18. So he is creeping back into this. He was 7-17 down. Scored 3 doubles since then. Only 5 in it.
And we're at the crucial stage now for David, I feel, Hugh. This is a vital end for him. Mustn't let John get in here, because if he gets in here, John's going for game.
Length ball. I should say the yellow bowl is still winning it. Mary Ashcroft will let us know in a moment.
I like your bowl, David.
Yes, for 2. Well, it's going to count. It's going to count if it gets past. Oh, superb delivery. Whoa. Why, it's just trickled on.
Come on, John.
It trickled out, would you believe it? That was a marvellous delivery. Deserved a better fate. But David scores a single, closes the gap to 4. 14-18. He's on target. Well, is this the starting of an enormous comeback by David Richardson, the 27-year-old from Wigan?
Although it's a good lead, Hugh, it's just at the side, isn't it? You know, it's there for John to sit on.
I could have done with being further on than that. Perhaps around the back.
Only one.
He's definitely not going to be short. Is he in?
Richardson.
No, he isn't. Richardson got the single there. Well, this is boiling up into a finish that, what, 10, 12 ends ago, you wouldn't have believed, Roy.
Absolutely. If David can keep this leading going, the game's not over, far from over, and John could very soon come under the collar. because the pressure will transfer to him.
Yes, there's another good lead from David. And it's Banjo who's looking anxious, and it's Banjo who has lost his rhythm. Straight out.
Only one.
One against John Bancroft.
John can afford to strike now, or he can afford to play through, whichever he fancies. Looks as though he's going to strike you.
Will you watch your camera, please?
There's the strike. There's the hit.
Oh,
And it's gone against him. He's taken 3 bowls off and left 1 yellow one on. Would you believe that? Well, so David scores a single. Not a bad strike, but it deserved a better fate, Roy.
yeah, good contact, half ball contact, but very unfortunate. John's ball goes on to that one and then off the green. Deserved a better fate.
So another single to David. That's a run now of 5 shots. He's only 2 behind. He's led well again. Yes, he's led beautifully again. No Banjo.
It just shows what a difference when you can keep the jack for three or four ends, and he's come to life, hasn't he?
Absolutely. We're in the 28th end, and you look back at the 18th, and Richardson was 16-6 down. And here he is, only 18-16 down. He's got a contact of some kind, but it won't work for him. Another single for David Richardson. No, in fact, it's a double. It's a double. And they're level, 18 across. What a comeback. I should think this has probably changed the odds down on the bookmakers' boards.
He's caught John out here, you know, Hugh. He's stopped the jack a little shorter this time, and John's played out again.
Yes, he's in again. No, that's not going to stop. No way. 2 more. All but 18. David Richardson. Well, I've never seen a game turn so dramatically, so very, very quickly. 6-16 down, and here he is 20-18 up.
Quite an amazing match, this, Leslie.
Yeah, 17-7 down. It's Davis played very well. In a situation like this, you can see what's just happened.
That's just about his worst lead, actually, for the last 20 minutes.
Usually get right near the finishing post. Unlucky. When John's just likely to creep in at the end.
You know, that's another thing that happens in situations like this. All the rubs seem to be going David's way now, don't they?
Yeah. He's playing very well. He's not giving John much chance there. That was about the only bad lead he's made, and John's running the back of it.
Now, John surely must get in here. Has to. well, promote his own, if nothing else. Yes. Oh.
Bancroft won.
So a single for John Bancroft. And in a game that he had won 10 ends ago, it seemed, he's now looking for 2 that will actually wrap it up. He's 19-20 behind. John looks anxiously around. He's very grateful to get that block back in his hands. 2, 4, 6. That was a 9-shot run by David Richardson. He desperately wants a really good lead here. It's heavy. It's very heavy. It's gone.
That's nothing but tension, Hugh. He's gone to the fastest part of the green and knew that he didn't have to go past the jack.
That could be the winning bowl. That could be the match winner. John. Bowl to save the match. It's got to run. It won't. It's gone. And John Bancroft must feel that he's blown it. But take your caps off, take your hats off to David Richardson. An absolutely brilliant comeback. Not a hope at one stage, and comes back to win it 21-19.
I think someone once said, David, funny old game.
Yeah, well, I couldn't believe how far behind I went. It started raining, and that didn't suit me at all with lignite balls. There's 2 types of ball, lignite and plastic. Lignite and woods, and mine are plastic, and when it rains, it's very difficult to get a length. And of course, it was raining early in the game and I went behind. And then it stopped raining and I came good at the end. So I'm very pleased to win.
What were you thinking when you were 15-6 down?
Well, I was in the competition 2 years ago and I only got 6, so I thought it was going to happen again. So I was just happy to get off 6. And I just kept going. And that was it.
Well done. John, from your point of view, what on earth happened?
I went blind, I think. No, David played really well there at the end. I mean, he played some marvellous balls. I think about 4 ends on the run. He's got good balls on. I've just played reaching balls, hoping to connect, and I connected, but I just hit wrong and ended up still 1 down or 2 down.
I had a very good run of the balls in the teens, because he's hit right a few times and it's just not paid off. He's knocked mine off and then ricocheted onto his own ball. Left me still in.
Yes, I was just about to say, taking nothing away from your victory, that when things do start going against you in this game, it does seem that everything goes against you, all the little rubs.
Yeah, when something goes, it all goes. Early on I had a few nice rubs and got away from David, and then when he come back he had them. It does happen in that. You have phases where you have them and don't have them. David just had his at the right time.
So you'll be hoping now to go 1 better than your brother in '84?
I hope so, yeah. Just keep every match each match as it comes and try my best every time. And hope I can keep winning.
Thanks, David, and well done.
All right, thanks.
Yes, indeed. Well, that's what's been happening here today so far, and the most entertaining of those 3 games, without question, the one you've just seen, with David Richardson beating John Bancroft by 21-19. Well, I've now been joined by Brian Brett. It's funny, Brian, isn't it? When former champions, when they come back, rarely seem to do well.
Bit of a graveyard, this, isn't it, for champions? Yes. You think back, all of them. Brian Duncan, you know, you think he's going to win every competition, but he's fallen at the first hurdle in the past. I just wonder later today, we've got 5 today, haven't we, former champions? One of them, the reigning Bassmaster. How's Chris going to go on? Chris McDonald later today. I know he fancies it, but he's not been playing well, you know.
No one's ever won the tournament twice.
That's right. Yeah, well, what a bet. What a bet it would be if we did it on the old, how many reigning champions and former champions are going to go out first hurdle? Nobody's ever won it twice. Burrows is a new favourite, by the way, you know. I've just heard him shouted at 5-1. That's because he won his game. Duncan 6-1. Britain went early doors. Yeah, they're all falling.
Now look, the 2 games we're going to see when we return at 1:30, Brian. L Higginbottom against Gary Wallis and Brian Duncan against P Gamsby. 2 very successful bowlers, of course, Duncan and Higginbottom. How do you think they'll go?
Well, we know their names, don't we? They're household names virtually in the Crown Green game, but they go up against a couple of good lads. I mean, I think Gary Wallis, he's the man who gives the M62 some hammer, because he's always coming across the pennines to pinch our money this side of the pennines.
Winning a lot
he's got
now,
a great
isn't he?
chance. He's winning a lot of money. Form man, I think he's got a great chance. Gamsby, I'm not so sure, but they're all champions, aren't they? And as our friend Brian Duncan is apt to say, it's on the day.
Yes, Brian's favourite comment. Do you think it'll be his day very quickly?
I think it'll be Brian Duncan's day. I'm not so sure about L Higginbottom. He's got a handful in Gary Wallis.
Thanks, Brian. Well, there we are. There's the two of them. Brian Duncan on the left, Len Higginbottom on the right, waiting in anticipation. See how they get on. 1:30 this afternoon. Bye-bye. Hello again from the Woodlands Hotel in Ellesmere Port. It's the day of the former champions here at the Bassmasters. Already we've seen one go through, the 1982 winner, the inaugural winner in fact, Noel Burrows, and one go out, our old mate John Bancroft, who won here in '86. But I think to spare your blushes a little bit, John, it's fair to say that, and worth reiterating to everyone, that the bottom half of the draw this year is immense quality, isn't it?
It's very stiff. That's the half you don't want to be in, really. There's an awful lot of good players throughout the whole of the bottom half. There isn't an easy part of it anywhere, whereas the top half, with no disrespect to the players in there, on paper does look a little bit easier, yeah.
Now, the atmosphere yesterday for a first day was marvellous, and it is again today. We've got virtually a full house. It must be great to play on a stage like this.
It is, considering that the weather really is a little unsettled. The crowds have turned up in the numbers, and it's marvellous, really. They get behind both players. They don't seem to have a favourite. They support both players equally, and it's marvellous to play because they really encourage you, and it's a tense atmosphere, really. It gets all the players keyed up before they're due to go on the green. They're all looking forward to it with a little few nerves and butterflies. I know I was.
Now the bookies are doing pretty good business as well, and I think now Noel Burrows was outright favourite, but now they can't really separate Burrows and Duncan, who we'll be seeing live in a moment or two, both, as it stands, at 5-1.
Well, Noel this season hasn't done particularly well, although in the last fortnight he has just seemed to come to the boil a little bit. Really, I know I'm probably going against the grain, really, but I fancy Noel really at the moment. I thought he was very, very impressive in that first game, and as I say, he has found the form in the last fortnight. I'd just go for him, although I know there'll be a lot of punters who disagree with me.
It takes a brave man to bet against Brian Duncan.
It does really, but the green, although it's been wet today and damp, the green is running quite smoothly and it's running quite fast, and if we can have a couple of dry days tomorrow and Saturday, I think that the green will go more and more in Noel's favour.
Now, I know every player in the game, like yourself, would like to be the number one, as Brian is. What must it be like, do you think, for 20 years to be just about the favourite in every tournament you play? Is that a pressure, or is that just an overused word that we shouldn't apply in Brian's case?
Well, I think really, obviously when he first came to the number one position quite a few years ago, there was pressure on him to stay there then, but I think now he's come to accept it, and I think he just takes it for granted, really. Although, having said that, Brian doesn't take anything for granted, and I think what you've got to admire about Brian is his ability to accept defeat with such good humour, and he's tries his heart out, but if he doesn't win and the rubs don't go for him, he doesn't get too upset, and he shrugs it, and he's a very good loser. He's a nice guy all round, really, and I think that's his strong point, really, that he can shrug one bad game off, and the next game's a different ball game altogether, and he's head down and away he goes, you know.
Sort of explodes the myth that nice guys aren't winners. Anyway, what about his opponent, P Gamsby? You know him well as well. He's from the North Midlands, not known certainly as well as Brian in these parts, but a good bowler.
No, down in the Midlands area, he's probably rated certainly in the top 2 or 3, and he's a very good player. He's a slightly unusual delivery, actually, Paul. He doesn't take a very long stride, as the viewers will probably notice, which possibly on here might not suit him with all the ridges he has to get across. If you take a longer stride, it just sometimes suits you as regards getting the balls over the ridges. And Brian will be wanting to take him a long way, and Paul will be wanting to play up to the crown of the green and the short marks.
Right, well, because of where we're perched, I can't actually see what the score is. It's
10-5 now at the moment.
Apparently Brian Duncan's leading by 10-5. Johnny, you're going to tootle off to the commentary box now, but for the time being, let's hear from Roy Armstrong and Brian Brett.
10-5 indeed, Elton. Spot on. Brian Duncan a little awry there with his lead bowl, but he's in the corner he wants to work in. And we shall see how P Gamsby, with this very economical style, can get him away. He's improved. 50-1, P Gamsby for the title, and 2-1 to win this game against Brian Duncan. Duncan, one of the great correctors in the game. Yes, gets the second one into count. Now then, Gamsby needs some more running in his bowl. Duncan's already picked his own up in acknowledgement that this is the winner. Gamsby.
Gamsby won.
Paul Gamsby. 6-10, and already Roy Armson, the tactics clear.
Yes, indeed, and just at that moment, Paul Gamsby has deserted his previous pattern. He's previously been going about 26 yards, and here he's taking Brian on at his own game. He's in point of fact gone a little bit further than what Brian's been going. He's going around about 45 yards here, finger peg just underneath the crown, and he looks as though he's let a good one.
He has indeed. He's slightly shifted the jack to the right of the corner, whereas they had been played to the left, and it runs away rather nastily, but this possibly a little more consistent. Duncan's running all important now. Needed a hit. Gamsby urging his bowl on. Lying with one, and that's why he's left it well short. Duncan leading 10-6, but one against him here. And nothing changes the one to Paul Gamsby. $7-10 down, the man they rate the number one in the game. Gamsby again going back into the far corner, the leaderboard corner. Good mark. Not easy to get out of, Roy. Once they get in, it's not easy to get out.
No, he's actually stopped the jack well short of the corner, well short of the shelf, and not a very good lead here from Paul. He's about 2 yards short, and I don't think that'll count against Brian.
Well, we shall see. Duncan can't be any better. In fact, he's just run down a dip, but still out of the count. There is a fairly fierce wind, Roy. The flags are fluttering somewhat right into the face of them as they deliver out of this corner.
Yes, it is a little protected down there, but I'm looking at the trousers and they have been flapping a bit, and I think it is affecting them somewhat. And Brian hasn't quite got into his usual fluent style yet, and he's got to try and pass these 2-yard bowls, which I think he might just do.
Yes, because he's running down and down, and just swing away shade, but good enough surely.
Duncan
Referee
won.
Will Folks just confirms that. 1, Brian Duncan. 11-7. Brian Duncan in the corner, changing the tactics. Roy, this is a change. Is he going for the other corner?
I think that's his idea, Brian. Yes, he's playing round peg, thumb peg, biased towards the ditch, and he's going about 30-odd yards, and he's led a very good bowl here. And if he counts this end, I feel sure he'll come back down to the corner underneath the commentary position.
Yes, and of course at 11-7 and line 1, there's a good chance that Duncan could start breaking away and heading home. That's a good bowl. That's a very good bowl from Gamsby. It may well cut the count to 1 at the most. Duncan again on a good road. Oh, what a good bowl. The maestro. Lies 2. Right, with weight. Got a couple of bobbles on the way. Misses everything. Fielded by Wilfolk in the background.
Duncan 2.
2 to Duncan. $13-7 now, the Duncan lead. Well, Duncan is 5-1, joint favourite, but he really has it all to do.
That's just the way it's worked out. Obviously, it's been a live draw and been a fair draw, and all the previous winners, I think there's 5 of us, have all come out in the same half of the draw. I mean, you've got to play whoever you play, but it's just ironic that we've all come in the same half.
Now, what about your opponent, Paul Gamsby? Have you played him many times before?
Well, I think I've played him about 4 times, and I think it's 2 apiece. The only reason I can possibly remember is I've just played him 3 times down in Birmingham with the M&B sponsorship, and I think I beat him 2-1, so the way it's going, it might be his turn, but turns don't matter really.
So 13-7, Duncan lying 1, looking for 2, and Roy, he's now in the groove, isn't he?
Yes, it's interesting to note that Brian's deserted his corners. He's playing finger peg, round peg over the crown, and once again he's led 2 very, very good bowls. And
Duncan,
Paul Gamsby going out, leaving 2. So that's 2 to Brian Duncan. 15-7 the score. Aside me is John Bancroft. What do you think about the change in Brian Duncan's tactics, John?
Well, it's quite unusual to see Brian come out of the corners so early in the game, especially with him being in front. It's not often you see him do it when he is in front. It's normally when he's 2 or 3 behind and he's had a few goes. But he's not really led particularly well in the corners, so obviously he's felt the time was right to come out.
Yes, indeed. And there he is again. Played a very good bowl, just about 14 inches behind the jack. Thumb peg going about 35 yards. And here's Paul, very, very close with this bowl. Will Folk having a close look. Very important for the players to know who's in here, because that will affect the type of ball they play.
You better come and have a look at it, Brian. Different from both sides.
Come and have a look, he says. We were just talking a moment ago, John, about the wind down there. Did you find it affecting the bowling when you were down there this morning?
Well, not too much this morning, but I think it has got up a little bit. And what makes it more difficult is that the wind is blowing in the direction in which normally runs, so therefore it's tending to even up the pace of the green somewhat. Normally you find that it's a very 2-pace green, quick coming towards the scoreboard, and a little bit more of a push going away, but with this wind blowing in the opposite direction to that, it's making it a little bit more equal.
Yeah. And here's Brian. He's changed his peg, he's gone finger peg and played over. I would think that suggests that Paul Gamsby might be in. What do you think, John?
Well, possibly the way Brian's played that bowl, I think Wilf has suggested that Paul might be in. It's unusual to see Brian change his peg like that, really, on him. I would have thought he'd have gone the same peg and tried just to play a couple of feet over.
And that's a very well played ball from Paul Gamsby. Could in fact be the nearest bowl.
Gamsby 2.
2 to Paul Gamsby. Start of a recovery. 9-15. And Paul changing once again, coming finger peg down to the fast part of the green. This is not far from where you finished off this morning, John.
No, it's quite quick where the jack is at the moment. It runs away from the jack.
Very good ball from Brian Duncan. Perfect length, perfect reply. Paul needs to play through now. No, just missed it. Be interested to see whether Brian can get 2.
Duncan 1.
So, just 1 to Brian Duncan, makes the score 16-9, and we have to leave you for a few moments. Please join us again soon for some more live action from the Woodland Hotel at Ellesmere Port.
Grandma's here. Oh, what a day.
There's a new kind of tissue in a generous new size
There you are, give him a
with a
big
new
kiss.
strength
Hello, darling. I'll give your grandma a kiss.
and a new softness.
Kiss you with all that chocolate on your face. There, That's better.
From an old favourite. Andrex tissues. Families have been crying out for them.
I've learned a few rules in the art of survival. Number 1, be prepared for when the little darlings come to visit. 2, eat a bowl of Kellogg's All Bran every day to help your digestive system. When you feel fitter on the inside, you feel ready for the world outside. Number 3, feed them at their own game!
Kellogg's All Bran, the original high-fibre cereal.
For hair so shiny you can see your face in it, new Henara shampoos and conditioners. Their finest quality henna enhances the natural beauty of everyone's hair.
Hello, Lolly! Play new Lotto 2 in the sun. Pick your own lucky numbers. Nearly 40,000 lucky winners have said hello to lovely Lolly in just 6 months. Hello, Lolly! Enter early and you could win a car on top of the cash.
But you've got to be in it to win it.
Play Lotto 2 in the sun. Hello, Lolly!
Cleopatra, Queen of Egypt. Cleopatra. Her name is linked with the secret of beauty. Cream and perfume. Cleopatra. A new soap, rich as a cream, sensual as a perfume. A new soap that might well change the face of the world. Cleopatra, a secret of beauty.
Frontierland. Spectacular rides, fabulous live entertainment, and you're free to walk in.
And back at the Woodland Hotel, we've had a couple of wayward ends, really. John Gamsby scored a single, and at the last end he scored a double to go 12-16. Once again playing about 35 yards, and he let a ball about 2 yards off. Not quite near enough, I think, to count this end.
It's an unusual tactic for somebody to take Brian in the corners like Paul has done at the moment. I bet Brian finds it rather unusual for somebody to do that to him, really. And Brian is conversely doing the opposite and taking on Paul on short mark, which is unusual for Brian, really.
Yes, indeed. And Paul disappointed with those two. Left a lot of room for Brian, but Brian, this bowl's struggling as well. So, one to Duncan.
That's very unusual, that, because really that is Brian's strong point in this game. That's why he's been top for so long, as I was saying to Elton before, because his great strength is coupling up all the time. He never fails to take an opportunity, although he did in that instance there.
Yes, and here's Brian going back again on this about 38-yard round peg mark, playing thumb peg just underneath the crown where he led so well early on in the game. Good length, just about a yard off. Paul seemed to bounce that ball a little bit, John, but then I think sometimes he does that, doesn't he?
He does, Paul. He's not got the smoothest delivery in the world. I think he'd appreciate that himself. And he plays very, very big balls, which is quite unusual, really.
Yes, they're 3 pounds in weight, actually. Composition bowls, 3 pounds in weight. And Brian plays 2 pound 12 ounce wooden bowls.
Gamsby 2.
So, Paul Gamsby has a 2. That's 14-17. Paul playing finger peg now, almost going back to the position that they were in at the last end.
I think he's very keen, Roy, to get back in these corners, from the scoreboard corner to the other corner. It seems to be where he wants to play all the time, and Brian is struggling to get a length on that mark at the moment, so I think it's quite good tactics from Paul.
Yes, indeed, and once again, very good lead. At the side, there to rest on, but very good length. And Brian, looks as though it's just short. As we said before, Brian Duncan, the great corrector, has he corrected on this occasion? Yes.
Duncan won.
Well repaired. So, one to Brian Duncan, 18-14. Usually around about this this stage in the scoreline in the game, I usually think this is approaching the crucial stage in a game, John. 18, that sort of score.
If Paul could have counted those 2 balls there, I think we'd have seen a different game completely, because Brian has been struggling on that mark in the corners.
Yes, John, this is one of your fiddling little marks, isn't it? I remember you beating, was it L Higginbottom on a mark similar like this across the green, where he played through a lot?
Yes, it was quite similar to the mark they're playing now, actually, and it's very, very quick finishing where the jack is now. Brian's ball, where it's lying, although it's 2 foot off the jack, is a very good ball because it's making Paul reach up and pass it.
Yes, and at 18-14 and lying with 1, and he'll turn the screw, he'll stick another in here, and he could go all but, unless Paul Gamsby can get in among them. Got to be far enough. Got to work now with the bias, down the hill, swing around. Thank you very much. Beautiful delivery. One of the outstanding bowls of the competition, I would suggest, John Bancroft, because it's all about nerves now for him, isn't it? And that really was a lovely delivery.
Under pressure, that was a great ball. If Brian had counted those 2, I think he'd have been virtually home and dry, but now it's a different ball game, and it's a tricky mark that Paul's chosen to play here. There's a little bit of a channel.
I think he's got it right, John. It's a big switch in tactics too, isn't it? We've said he's taken Duncan on in the corners, and now he's confident that he can settle on a mark that probably suits his best game. But Duncan, that's Duncan at his best, John, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why he's so good, and that's why he's so hard to play, because he is, although his strength is in the corners, he's such a good all-round player as well.
Hey up, how about that? Oh, what a healthy shunt. Yes. And he's playing up. So, poor Gamsby. Beautiful. Well, that's the 28th end, and Duncan misses out. It swings back to Paul Gamsby, another single. 16-18 as we start the 29th end. Well, John, are you going to pick a winner for us now? Can you see a winner here?
Well, I think a lot depends on this next end. If Paul can play a good lead here, I shall have to just go for Paul, because at the moment the jack's in his hand, and Brian probably will start feeling the pressure now. I think the pressure's moved off Paul now, probably onto Brian, who's been in front all the game and now finds himself only a couple in front.
Like a good old pro, John Bancroft says, it all depends on this end. I'll tell you what, I think Duncan's going to win. He said, as that delivery goes into the ditch, just hedge your bets. Put this one in, Duncan. Put it in. Get it to stop. His line wasn't quite right, so it's swinging away. But he's on the green. He's got a length bow. This, as John Bancroft just said, is the big end. It's 16-18 against Paul Gamsby, who has corrected him Brian Duncan style superbly. Duncan will wait and have a look at this. He's lying with 1 on the green. He'll have a go, John, won't he?
I wouldn't be surprised if he lets the peg go at this.
Yes, he's striking. If he can take this out. No, gap, leaves 1.
Gamsby won.
It's not often Brian misses in these circumstances. Normally he's deadly at this striking.
Yes, one of the great strikers, and it was straight across the green. Unfortunate for Brian Duncan. 17-18. Paul Gamsby trails, and that is from 14-18. A nice little run, Paul Gamsby. Going back the same mark, no need to change. Always a good policy, of course, John, is to leave a bit of a gap, and it's the old theory, leave a gap for them to strike into.
Yes, that's the way. At the moment, Brian just seems to be struggling to put his balls on the road on this mark. He seems to be playing with a pair of balls that haven't quite got as much pegging as Paul's, and he's just struggling a little bit.
Yes, but Paul Gamsby is not struggling. He's just put another one in there. Brian Duncan has had problems with his woods all season. Never really settled on a pair he's happy with, and leaves that a mile short. Oh dear, has he left two? He has. Two to Gamsby. Well, 1918, as you forecast, John, a little while ago, if Gamsby won that end, I think it was the 29th end we were talking about, and retained the jack, then he was in with a tremendous chance, all but 18.
Well, if he can, I think he's a little bit too far with this, possibly.
But he was the last time, I think. He needs a hit. Oh, that stopped it. That's the break. Half connection.
That was very fortunate there.
This is the pressure bowl, isn't it? This is the pressure bowl. You've got to count. He may get the gap. He's gone through and off. Oh, 1918. Paul Gamsby, lying one, now wants to put another one in there into the count. Won't be too far. Won't be too far. Those are the two he needs for game. Duncan with one bowl to play to stay in. The joint favourite is in trouble. He's in trouble. This doesn't look right. Has he saved? Has he stopped the count? He has. One. Another one. Paul Gamsby. All but 18 against the number one bowler in the game, Brian Duncan. Brian Duncan, the 5-1 joint favourite before the game started. 3-1 on to win the heat. Trails Paul Gamsby, 31-year-old print finisher from Birmingham. Looking for a winning lead. Hey, you'll not want that back, John Bancroft.
No, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Brian playing a reaching ball with his first ball here.
It's got to be far enough. His length has disturbed him. We've said earlier, you keep that jack, you've got a tremendous chance. Well, that might have been good enough normally to win, but
that's a very poor ball from Brian there, really. That would be the very last thing he'd wanted to do, was play a short.
Yes, it's a bit in the way as well, John. It's in the approach. He wants to keep well away from that. Now, this, Brian Duncan, takes a long time, thinks about a strike, and he's going for a strike to stay in the game, to stay in the Bassmasters. The former master strikes. Has he got it? He has, but let's have a look. The jack is still on the green. The jack is on the green, and Gamsby's bowl could be closest. It could be a handshake. It is Paul Gamsby, the 50-1 outsider for the competition, beats the 5-1 joint favourite Brian Duncan in a match of rare quality, of rare drama. 21-18 is the scoreline, and this has gone on for 32 ends of riveting bowls. Well, we're going to have a little more action for you very shortly, but just for now, from the Woodland Hotel here in Ellesmere Port and the Bassmasters, we're going to leave you just for a moment.
One, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, rock.
It's the rock and roll mix.
Tonight.
The greatest ever rock and roll collection on one superb double album.
He's a bird. All of my love, all of my kissing. You don't know what you've been missing, oh boy.
60 all original rockin' and rollin' non-stop hits on a fantastic double album. Us for the greatest ever rock and roll mix from Stylus.
Gunpowder won't shift that lipstick, Mr. H.
Well, actually, Mrs. B, I use this.
Ariel liquid?
Just rub a smidgen onto...
Look, dear, I'm the lady who does. You're the person who doesn't.
But Mrs. B, it's so advanced, it even comes with its own washing machine, the Arielette.
I'll never get a full load in there.
Just fill it up, chuck it in, and whack it on cool.
I'll do it again when he's finished.
It starts doing the biz, slap bang in the heart of the wash. There, Mrs. B, the whole wash cleaner than a clergyman's conscience.
Ariel Liquid. Clean to the heart of the wash.
Incredible. It's even managed to clean up your image, Mr. H.
Enjoy real peace of mind with the difference a pension from Norwich Union can make. Take independent financial advice today about pensions from Norwich Union.
Everyone eats Kellogg's bran flakes out here. Some say they bring good luck.
Do they stop you going over waterfalls?
No.
If you want a cooker that gives you not just one oven but two, and an oven as hot at the bottom as it is at the top, and if you want energy-saving rings, and a hob that heats at the speed of light, but gives you an incredibly low simmer. If you want all this, then you've got one thing to remember. Cook Electric. Energy for life.
And now for a break.
Nescafe, Nescafe, a better way to start your day. Isn't time that you woke up with just food and tasting love?
There's nothing like that special blend and roast to start the day on song.
Welcome back. It seems to be drama following drama here at the Woodland Hotel in the 1988 Bassmasters. I've been joined by Roy Armstrong. I think you'd have put your life on Brian Duncan winning that when he was something like 16-7 in front, Roy.
At that stage in front, yes, although he wasn't the Brian Duncan that we know, nevertheless he started to lead okay, and as you say, with that kind of a lead, you would have fancied him to finish it off, but didn't P Gamsby stick in there? You know, it's the classic case, sticking in, and he came really good at the end.
I mean, his lead bowling in the last, half a dozen ends or so was immaculate, wasn't it?
Certainly was, yes, and he put Brian under a lot of pressure because all he could do was reach up, and I think the end that changed the game was when Brian played short at 2 bowls about 5 feet off, not like the Brian Duncan had. And then, of course, he played 1 or 2 really good bowls, typical Duncan bowls, about 3 ends from the finish, but Paul played really well just to finish the game off, yeah.
I mean, it's been an extraordinary day all round. With 5 former champions in the bottom half of the draw. We've had Brian Duncan go out, John Bancroft go out. We're about to see L Higginbottom shortly.
Oh, yeah.
Only Noel Burrows so far has actually made it. He's now outright favourite to win the tournament.
It just illustrates the glorious uncertainty of bowls. Anything can happen.
Now, what about the way the green's playing very briefly, Roy, at the moment?
I think it's speeded up. We've got a bit of wind here just now. I think it's speeded up about 2 yards, and I think it is affecting the players. I think, you know, it's blowing the bowls in the opposite direction to what they normally go, and I think it's making them think very, very long and hard. Consequently, some of them are changing the tactics, coming out of the corners, all that kind of thing, but it's very, very tricky, and we've played a very simple game from up here, but down there it's very hard.
Oh, it's easy from here, isn't it? I tell you what, I can't remember in what is it, 6 years, a more fascinating first 2 days of the Bassmasters.
True, yeah. There's been some outstanding bowling, some shock results, and all kinds of things like that.
All right, Roy. Well, as we said, champions galore here today. And yet another champion was in action a little earlier this afternoon. L Higginbottom, winner in 1983. His opponent, the 22-year-old from Doncaster, Gary Wallis, who's won all sorts of tournaments over the past 12 months or so. Well, we're going to join it with Wallis leading 14-11. Commentators, Roy Armstrong and Brian Brett.
Keeping the score. And it's thirsty work, as we will know. 14-11, Gary Wallis leads, but Higginbottom trying desperately to get back into the game. He has never led. He's been down 7-4, 9-6, 12-9, and now 14-11. And Roy Armstrong, we are not surprised by this Wallis form, whereas people at home might not know the young man, but we know he is some player.
Yes, Gary's been in outstanding form. I actually saw him on on Sunday in the county match in the Martel Cognac semi-final when he played for Yorkshire. He actually played Chris MacDonald, who's also here, and he beat Chris 21-12. And also, of course, I think his attitude this week has been superb, because I believe he's staying quite close by. He's really hammered this green. He's put a lot of practice in, which is a sensible thing, because to come here from Doncaster is a real drag, and staying locally, he's been able to go all over the green.
Right, now let's see if this particular green is rewarding. No, this particular area has left Higginbottom counting. Just wait for Gary Wallis to arrive, and then referee Mary Ashcroft will signal the 1 point for Len Higginbottom. 12-14 off the mat. Higginbottom to set the mark. And going for the corners. He's got to change things, Roy, now, hasn't he? Because Wallis has done very well on the little fiddling marks that he exploits, and Higginbottom invariably plays through, but now he's looking for length.
Yes, this is typical Len Higginbottom style. Around about 45 yards, finger peg, very straight. Len likes to play very straight, and he's got a good length bowl there. And here's Gary going in the uphill position. Will it reach? Looks just as though it's going to be short. Yes, just 5 feet short.
Oh, 2 foot.
Higginbottom flying after the bowl, urging it through and on and on and on, and it's not enough. Only one. The weather overcast, but not raining, not the weather that Higginbottom enjoys. This bowl trying very hard for Wallis. Done it.
Wallis, 1.
And came Wallis, narrowing the distance, playing just up and over the crown. He has led well. He's urging that one on. He'll be disappointed, because while it's a yard short, it certainly is beatable. Higginbottom will always try and play up. He's not improved.
And I'll bet this is a mark that Len's never played in his practice. It's as you said, it was just over the crown, and just about 26 yards. And from where they are, it's all uphill. And Gary's changing his peg here, playing thumb peg, trying to get one on the other side.
Yes, he's going the safe way in, and he's there. Now then, 15-12 he leads. He lies 2. You would think that Len has got to cut the count. He's going the same way in. Thumb peg, hoping for some movement now, hoping for a way through. No, he may well have saved. Yes. Just the 1 to Gary Wallis.
Wallis, 1.
Wallis, quite a controversial character on the other side of the Pennines. He originally played with South Yorkshire, which is where his Doncaster home is, but then fell out with the selectors, who insisted he travelled on the team bus to matches, and Gary had appointments elsewhere, competitions elsewhere after county games, and didn't think much of that. And generally fell out, but now he is playing in Yorkshire, and is a Yorkshire County player, Roy, and is in the final of the Crossfield Cup, the County Championship, of course, after that win against Cheshire.
Yes, they now play Lancashire in the final. They'll be All the committees will be getting their heads together to sort out the 2 greens for the final. They'll be looking for difficult greens, one that they can outwit the other team on. And Len, of course, is involved in the other side. Len is the captain of one of the Lancashire teams.
That's right. This time, Len's final ball just brushes its way through and leaves Wallis with the 1. Another 1, Gary Wallis. Gary Wallis, a newspaper advertising executive, and with bowls like this, is writing his own headlines.
A very clever use of the jack here by Gary. He's gone about 5 yards further, and he's just caught Len out here. He's playing a very clever game, tactically very aware, this young man. Here's Len now, trying to save one, as Gary's holding 2. Trying to just get near to that jack, and he's just saved one.
Wallis, 1.
Well, problems for Len Higginbottom, but he knows his opponent well. He qualified, in fact, Len, by winning one of the toughest competitions around, and did well.
You won the match.
Yeah, it was really. It was the first major televised tournament that I've won. I've been playing in them probably since 1978, and won a few rounds in them before, but not actually won one as big as that.
And of course it is a very difficult tournament to win. 32 champions involved.
Yeah, 32 champions. Everyone qualified other than last year's winner. It's a tremendous tournament.
Right, Wallis now got a gap, but he's not found the gap. He's found a nice resting point. And may well have won this. The crowd, the players, waiting for the referee. Len is still on. Higginbottom carries this bowl. He's taking no chances. Oh dear. Chicken, the shouts from the crowd. Sensible, absolutely sensible in that situation to carry his bowl. To count 1 and the jack. So 13-18 off the mat. Len Higginbottom, who did in fact qualify for the Shez Bassmasters by winning the Tetley Carlisle competition at the back end of last year at Bancroft. That is going to change, I understand, next year, because the big bookmaking firm of Corals are coming into Crown Green Bowls, and that then will be the Tetley Corals handicap over at Bancroft. 128 top class entries, mainly invited players, but they will listen to applications from players of proven ability, and this is some ability now from Gary Wallis. Roy, you can only admire this lad.
Yes, it's another example of all the hours of practice paying off. He's been all over this green, and although Len was just over a yard off, Gary's played a first-class ball, and Len's just gone out.
Yes, that was a very good second ball from Higginbottom. So far for nothing. And Wallis at 22 has youth on his side. And will he gamble? Is he far enough, or has he just taken enough out of the running? He has. He's had one.
Wallis, 1.
So he's within a double of another shock. that's barely a mark, Roy, is it? Barely a mark.
It's about 19.5 metres, I think that, yes. Finger peg straight up to the centre of the green, right on the crown.
And a good lead. The minimum distance, of course, for a mark from the mat to the jack. 19 metres, and he's queried it, Roy, hasn't he? Absolutely right to do that.
It's a good call because Gary's lead ball is just about 14 inches off, which is very, very close. And Len had the option then of either of playing to the mark or objecting. And having made the objection, they're now going to measure from the footer to the nearest point of the jack, and it has to be in excess of 19 metres.
Right. Standing near the jack, Frank Lomax, running out with the tape there. Roy Bates from the Earlham Steel Club goes to the matter referee. He's saying everything that's necessary.
Just hang on a minute. Oh, this way. And again to the mark. Can you put
to tighten
them
that.
on the 90 metres, please?
Now she judges everything, the referee, Mary Ashcroft. She's absolutely in charge. She will now stretch and tighten that tape. She's judge and jury here. It's up to her. Higginbottom has queried the mark. It's very close. It's okay. Look at that. Just over the 19. Well done, referee. The problem now for Higginbottom is that we've probably had minute 90 seconds since the first ball was played up, and he's got to improve. Well, hasn't he done it well? Well, that's cheeky. Queries the mark and then glides in for a superb bowl, which is going to take some beating. He's got to play up. He's got to try and do some damage. Done it! Done it! For one. Higginbottom has got to put it back alongside the jack. Oh dear me, the bowl that he struck out has gone almost, well, it's gone 30 yards towards the ditch, not in the count at all. Now then, he's trying to tickle the jack. Oh! Well, the end product of all that, the 27th end, is that Gary Wallis counts one. And what a good bowl that was, Roy.
Yes, it was a luxury that Gary could afford, and he just got a contact on Len's bowl and just cut it out. Because he was so far in front, he felt he could use that method. If he'd have been if the score had been a bit closer, I think he would have played for second bowl. And here he is now with the jack going downhill, playing thumb peg, just about 24 yards.
And he's going for game 2013, all but 13. Gary Wallis. Good lead. When the question has been asked of Mr. Wallis, he has instantly responded with a super lead. Len cannot believe it and has to go to one side to look at it and says, hey, give us a chance. Give us some room. He's querying it, Roy, again. That looks a good mark to me, Roy.
He's measuring this one, but this is further than the last end. But the last one was very close, as I said, about 19.5 metres, but this is much further. So Len's just slowing the game down a bit. He's clutching at straws. It's a very crucial stage for him now.
Yes.
And we're wrong, you know.
We are wrong. It is not a mark.
No mark.
Well, it did look a good one from here, but we're up here and they are down there, and Len Higginbottom. He's going to struggle to find a mark from the middle of the green now. He's looking around. He will now set the mark because it has been proved to be not legal. Mr. Higginbottom is looking around to see where he can possibly go that is more than 90 metres. He's just shifted the footer a metre, which he is allowed to do. But he's not going to shift it again, Roy, has he?
He's hemmed in on all sides, isn't he, Len? And he's going into a position he doesn't like to do. He's got to go downhill and he's got to go right into the corner. But it's just stopping on top of the shelf. Anything past that jack will go right the way down and go about 5 foot past.
High drama indeed. 2 queries about marks, 1 legal, 1 illegal. May we remind you the score, after all, that is 20 to Gary Wallis, 13 to Len Higginbottom, and Wallis is going to put one up again. Not bad, not bad. And it's turned over, which makes it difficult to shift. Now, Mr. Higginbottom, is he going to have a go at this? Is he going to query his own mark?
9 inches.
No, he's 9 inches short. Right. The game against Higginbottom. He's wondering about striking, Roy, is he?
I think he is, yes. In fact, he is doing. It's unbeatable, that ball. It's just about 11 inches in front of the jack lying down.
He's going to have a go with his first bowl to try and remove the first bowl. The referee will attempt to field it there in the slips. Mary Ashcroft has been well advised to keep out of the way. No, sir. Now then, tactical bowl required. Either a blocker in the way or something around the back. Certainly don't a blocker. Don't give him too much of a target. He's sticking another one in. This is it. It's all against Higgy. He trails 2013. 2 bowls on the green are those of Wallis's as he strikes, and he's not bad, but he's left one on. That proves how well it was. The strike connects with one, but leaves the second bowl he had there in the count for another amazing result here in the Bassmasters. Out goes former winner Len Higginbottom, and the winner of this game, Gary Wallis, age 22 from Doncaster. He wins 21-13.
Gary, very well done. That was a brilliant win for you, wasn't it?
Thanks very much, Elton. Yeah, I think it was early doors. It was a case of who settled down first. I think both me and Len knew it was going to be a hard game, and it was the one who took control towards the middle of the game that was obviously going to reap the benefits.
It seemed to me, Len, Len sat alongside you there, that his tactics paid off, especially near the end there when he was playing those very short marks, and you didn't seem to know what to do.
Well, I needed 2 throws, you see, to get to the corners. He was keeping me stuck in the middle of the green, and there were bare marks. The first one I questioned was 19 metres 2 centimetres.
Really?
The next one was just over 18 metres, which wasn't a mark. But every time he went to the crown, it was if I got in,
you'd know where to go.
I'd know where to go. I'd just got to go to the corner.
Well, you've got to give this young fella all the credit in the world, then, haven't you? Because he really played a better tactical game, and it paid off for him.
He played very well, and I had a couple of good leads in the corner, probably 2 foot on the length, but Gary beat them every time his second ball. You must be, as I said, must be delighted at the start, which is obvious. But the way it's not just the fact that you won, but the way you played. In a sense, you sort of outthought, one of the master bowlers.
Yeah, I think the beauty of this competition, you can gear yourself up just to play one game on any particular day. I mean, this was the crunch game for me. This, when the draw was made, I thought, oh, Len Higginbottom, I've come and I've played, I've practiced, and I thought, if there's one thing that's not going to lick me, it's going to be the green. And I'd found the speeds, found a few marks that I liked, and obviously thought about the way I was going to play. It paid off. It could have gone the other way, but obviously I'm delighted to be in the next round.
Of course you are. Gary, well done again. Len, thanks for joining us. Well, of course, we started the day with 5 former champions. As it stands, only one is absolutely certain to be in the next round. That's, of course, Noel Burrows, the inaugural winner. Old Poker Face is back in business. It's the second round tomorrow. Join us bright and early.